feast day of St. Nicholas is December 6th. December 6th. And this was an enormously popular holiday throughout Europe. On that eve, on the eve of St. Nicholas Day, it would be a feast day for children, and cakes would be distributed, small gifts or ornaments. And it's notable that the role of the winter gift giver in pre-Christian times, before St. Nicholas and Christianity comes on the scene, the traditional gift giver was one of these fertility gods, one of the nature deities during a period of misrule, during a period of change, an incredible change. Pan, or Cernunnos, or Old Herman. Beginning in the 6th century and running until, or beginning on December 6th and running till the end of December, there were festivals that would occur all over the cities and towns of medieval Europe. And central in these festivals was the appearance of the wild men, those scary characters that I showed you, that would at once threaten, but also do what? The scary figures would come through, the Cernunnos characters, or whatever they may would come through. They'd come through town, and they'd scare the kids. Like, I'm not going to display it for you, but for example, imagine if I was in a hideous costume and I ran down the road right here, the people that were sitting on the edges of the road would be scared, probably. Right? Wouldn't stay for the rest of the lecture. Those that have left early, they don't know what they missed. No, I'd run down there, but rather, as you would be scared and frightened, as I would run down the road, I actually would pause and I would give you a cake by surprise, or a piece of candy, or something sweet. So there'd be that moment of confusion, that moment of misrule. That's what the deities did. That's what part of what it was. Meanwhile, mom and dad and people they knew would be drinking and carousing and having a great time as these wild men took over the cities. The question then becomes, all right, well, if we have these festivals that are going on with the wild men, how does Christianity make its point? It makes its point this way. As Christianity moves into Northern Europe, Christianity celebrates St. Nicholas, who either before or after the contact with these cosmological religions, before or after the contact, begins to take on the qualities of these nature deities. Except for the scary part. St. Nicholas is not presented as scary even early on. He's presented as beneficent. He's presented as caring for people, caring for children, looking out for people, helping the kids that were in the stew, and the young women without their dowry. He's going to help these people. But what then do you do with Cernunnos? What then do you do with these other characters? That's the question before us. Here's what Christianity did with it. What Christianity does with it, and the stories of St. Nicholas festivals in Europe are rife with these narratives. There would be parades, there would be different people coming through and singing and dancing and songs being sung throughout the town. And then lo and behold, the scary character would show up. The Cernunnos character would show up, the man dressed in the animal skins with the scary mask that frightened our associate dean. And this character would show up, only this time, in the new myth, the new ritual activities that began occurring, this character would be in chains. He would be chained and restrained by, you know what's going to happen, Arlene, right? He's restrained and enchained, and who's holding the chains that's restraining the character? Nicholas. Nicholas comes to town, restraining the characters, threatening, that would otherwise be threatening the people, pulling them back, keeping them away from the children, not scaring them, and then it's he that gives the treats. The scary character has the branches, the batons, the sticks that he's threatening with, and St. Nicholas is controlling the character and bringing him in. How do we know about this? We know about this from the various narratives that were shared about how the St. Nicholas pageants occurred. There's a PG, incredibly domesticated version of this that we see on Thanksgiving Day. On Thanksgiving Day in New York City, there's a St. Nicholas festival. It's called the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And who ends up the parade every year?
Santa.
Santa Claus. Santa Claus comes in, very domesticated, and invariably on the float with Santa Claus is what? Besides the reindeer. The reindeer are important too. I'm running out of time. Besides the reindeer, who's on the float? Always with Santa. Who's with Santa always? Who's always hanging around with him?
Mrs. Claus.
Oh, I love Mrs. Claus. That's great. That's great. Yeah, Mrs. Claus is there.
Elves.
Yeah, I love the elves. Yeah, I want to go with the elves for a minute. Stay with me on the elves. Mrs. Claus is there. I want to give full respect to Mrs. Claus. She's very important in this story. However, I want to focus on those elves. Those elves are important. Who are those elves? You say, well, they're just like Where'd they come from? Those elves are the distant, the distant ancestors, the distant descendants of those scary, frightening Christmas visitors from an earlier time. Chernunos, Belsnickels was another name for them. In Holland, in the Netherlands. Arlene knows exactly right. In the Netherlands, the ritual still continues. And the scary character that is controlled by St. Nicholas is called Zwarte Piet, which means Black Pete or Black Peter, right? And if you know anything about the Netherlands around Christmas time, you have these Black Peter or Zwarte Piet rituals that go on, and it's the same thing. The same thing that went on in medieval Europe when Christianity first showed up on the scene. A scary character comes in called Black Pete, and he is in blackface, and St. Nicholas controls the scary figure that goes around threatening and scaring the children. And it's as though a character came into this room, and I just want to do it again, and it was like running around threatening and scaring you. But imagine you're like 10 years younger than you are right now. How scared you would be if this character came around and was trying to get at you and threatening you. Yeah, when you're kids. Threatening you, scaring you, or something like that. And then Santa Claus comes in and says, "Oh no, Black Peter, you're not going to do that. Zwarte Piet, you're not going to do it." He begins restraining him and says, "I'm sure these children have been very good children. I'm sure they know their Bible verses." Well, this is a reenactment of something that went on in Europe for centuries before this time. Black Peter, fascinating to be sure. So how do we get to Saint Nicholas, Zwarte Piet, and all the rest of these deities, and how do we get to the Santa Claus of today? Well, several forces are at work, and I'm going to wrap up with this. I actually have one last thing I want to say after this with one little group.